Boats have served as transportation since the earliest times. They have also played an important role in hunting, fishing, trade, commerce since the beginning of civilization, war since humans started settling and invading one another, and also boats can be used for making friends around the world through diplomatic missions as well. Now that boats are no longer the number one mode of transportation for many people around the world, the vessels and their paddles are forgotten. However, when severe floods hit or storms inundate your area, boats, as small as they can become very useful and life-saving. In this edition of The Camp, we're going to teach you how to make your very own skin-on-frame vessel. With this strong DIY concept, some 60 kids applied to be part of this emergency boat building camp, hence making it also being known as Camp Noah. However, the competition was fierce as we could take in only 12. Our boat guru for this camp, Nakrin Nak In, also known as Sia Noi, which literally means little tiger in Thai, is a true eco-warrior who grew up loving the great outdoor activities and detailed woodcraft. He is one of the best handmade boat builders we can find and get our hands on. He will be spending the next 2 days teaching our young campers how to make a boat that can really help save their lives when disasters hit. Before starting, planning is essential. The campers are told that the original skin-on-frame concept back in the ancient times was literally using animal skin or leather on a frame, turning it into a floating vessel. We start with a pre-prepared mold, which is placed on what boat builders call a backbone. This backbone is placed on 2 sawhorses. The backbone and sawhorses are essential to hold the mold in position. However, neither of the 3 pieces mentioned will be present once the boat is done. We are aiming for an 8-foot-long canoe, big enough to carry no more than 2 young kids. The first piece of wood we're using will be the kneel, which is the bottommost part of the boat. The wood we select should be very strong, light in weight if possible. The keel will link the stem and the stern together. Yeah, the curved pieces at the very front and the very back of the boat, also known as bow and stern. Once that is set, the wood designated to become the gunwale is shaved by planes. This is going to make sure that there are no sharp edges or splinters, as the gunwale is often contacted with the passenger's hands, arms, and elbows once they are in the water. Shaving wood is seen as a simple task, yet for the 12 young campers, it is much harder and time-consuming than we think. The position or level of the gunwale is important because if it is too low, the boat can capsize easily. But if it is too high, an armpit addiction may occur. That's when your bottom is sat on the hull or the inside floor of the boat, but your armpit is too close or attached to the gunwale. Boat builders must consider where their center of gravity will be, as it directly affects the buoyancy and balance. It's been only 2 hours after we've started this camp, but the kids are saying it's hard to march on an empty stomach. So, in this boat camp, we're serving traditional Thai boat noodles for lunch. Thai boat noodles got their name from the mode of transportation back in the days. Noodles sold by vendors who would paddle their boats from dock to dock. Its very own distinguished style and flavor. People nowadays still call boat noodles, even though they are sold at food stalls on ground, if not high up in high-end shopping malls. Now, back to our main subject, building our very own eco-friendly boat. The keel is set, the stems in the front and back are connected, and the gunwale is steady. We now add more wood to the side of the boat parallel to the gunwale. We call them stringers. There is no fixed number of stringers for a particular boat, but just not too many so it adds up excess weight, and not too little that it loses the boat's solidity. In this case, we're using 4 stringers on each side. This means the kids will have to shave 8 more pieces of wood before strapping them onto the mold. Luckily, Nadia, one of the 3 girls attending this camp, came up with a bright idea. If using a plane to shave the wood is too difficult, why don't we all go with sandpaper? And it looks like she became the new trendsetter. Next is the hard part, attaching the ribs to the stringers and gunwale. This process requires much attention as boiling hot water will be added to soak the bamboo strips so they become durable. With the proper time and temperature, you can bend and fold these bamboo strips almost like rubber. Cable ties really do come in handy, especially with the young people with close to zero experience in boat building. Imagine how much more difficult this would be if we use simple waxed strings. Our boat building instructor, Little Tiger, says, let's call it a day and let the kids play. And when we say play, the camp is really good at dramatizing things. The 12 young campers knew from the very beginning that they will have to dress up as a character, real-life people or fictional, as long as their character has something to do with boats or ships. I took the easy exit by trying to imitate a character in the Pirates of the Caribbean. U is dressed up as a Viking, telling the story about how these people in the past won wars and conquered lands using Viking boats. Theo told us the story of how Captain James Cook found New Zealand in 1769 and was later encountered by the indigenous people of New Zealand, who are still today famous for the Haka war dance. Eric, dressed in traditional Thai uniform, depicts เจ้าพระยาโกษาธิบดีปาน head of the very first diplomatic mission of Ayutthaya to reach France. Atit with his suspenders is tonight Jack Dawson from the movie Titanic. The character is likely fictional, but the story of the unsinkable Titanic, which is now at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, is a true story indeed. ต้นกล้า is Charles Darwin, English naturalist who wrote his famous book Origin of Species and the Theory of Natural Selection after he, at the age of 22, jumped on a boat called Beagle and wandered the world for 5 consecutive years before coming home. Putter is dressed up as Christopher Columbus, who defied the idea that the world is flat and became famous for sailing west, and west, and thought he reached India, but it was actually a continent later known as America. Luck is Marco Polo, the Italian voyager who reached China by boat when he was still in his teens. Some say some Chinese culinary culture was brought back to Europe by Marco Polo and today are iconic European dishes. Gina is this evening dressed up as Cleopatra of ancient Egypt. While ruling the ancient kingdom, she had a great number of battleships under her command as Egypt and Rome were at war. Nadia is dressed as Zheng He, former Chinese admiral of the Ming Dynasty. During his times, the Royal Chinese Fleet was amongst the toughest in the region. Pang Bon seems to be very much into the silver screen. He is dressed up as the main character in Life of Pi. I'm not sure where he's hiding his Bengal tiger. Bang En is dressed up as Ferdinand Magellan, famous Portuguese navigator who spiced up the world after he found the Spice Islands. While Jay is dressed up in a red plastic bag and straw hat, something you may find in the cartoon One Piece. Yet, he has a sign saying Greenpeace attached to his back. Ah, he's talking about the famous Rainbow Warrior boat that the international NGO group used to protest until the original boat was bombed. Talk about the creativity that is floating around. Okay, so here comes morning. Once the keel, stem, stern, gunwale, stringer, and ribs are all tied up, we now add a very important part, which is the breast hook, the solid piece of wood that is placed on the top of the bow and stern in case our eco boat collides head-on into something hard. And now, the skin. Most eco boat builders would use canvas to wrap the frame or cloths before covering it with polyurethane. But keep in mind that our NOAA boat building project is meant to serve as emergency transportation when flood hits. So, we're going to use something that is handy and we can typically find at home. That's right, cling wrap. So basically, we wrap the entire boat from bow to stern, layer over layer, and then in a single cut, split the cling wrap right in the middle and fold it against the sides, just so you could tape her up. Now, to see if our idea of building a boat would really float around. Okay, sweet, it floats! And now, we're gonna need some volunteers to test paddle the thing. And it'll be much safer to start with the lightest of the pack. Now, let's try all that again outside the swimming pool. So far, so good. Oh, it seems like the thorns under these lily pads really put a hole through our dreams. Ah, just too bad. While the others are trying to fix our handmade boat, Nadia is giving Little Tiger's personal 13-foot kayak a try. And no, it did not work out too well. Luckily, she had a life jacket on. And now, with less than 2 hours before the end of the NOAA camp, our instructor, Mr. Little Tiger, says, let's do an evacuation boat that uses only bamboo, wires or cable ties, and some canvas. Alright, so introduction to handmade eco boat building. Alright, with some strips of bamboo and some vinyl signs, we're about to make what we call an emergency boat. Alright, just to evacuate yourself out of your house just in case flash flood comes in. Alright, so let's see how well this is gonna be in the water. พร้อมไหมพวกเรา ไม่พร้อม In many developing countries, bamboos are abundant, whereas canvases or plastic banners come to our front doors all the time when the election season comes around. And yes, it floats! Or at least for a while. 2 days and a night that the 12 kids spent at this camp learning how to build these vessels. The know-how of boat building and their accomplishment today is as important as the inspiration and boost of morale that they received from this camp, knowing that they have the basic skills to survive if a flash flood occurs in their area, and the fact that teamwork can create mutual success and friendship is essential.